evening and welcome to the September edition of Your Questions Answered. I'm Michael, KB9VBR.
And I am Joe, KD9CJX. And in honor of this weekend's blast to the 1980s, if you're having problems doing a POTA and you can't get any contacts, just go VBR, VBR, VBR like that.
Three times fast.
Yes. It's showtime.
Oh, for everybody joining us tonight and those on Team Replay, you might notice a little bit of a different background because I'm live and remote this evening from the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival in Jefferson, Wisconsin.
And I am back after a little hiatus. So, yeah, the bench has not been cleaned off at all.
Yeah, you've been on summer hiatus for big time, so we're good to have you back into the shack. And
I'm happy to be back. Really, I am. So tell us about the sheep and wool. And
well,
it's the fleece over our eyes.
It actually starts tomorrow, but we got here early because Christine is taking a class in basket weaving. So she's going to do that all day, and I'm going to rove and hit about a half a dozen parks in southern Wisconsin.
You didn't get a booth to sell any antennas?
No, not here. That'll be in 2 weeks when we are at the Radio Expo in beautiful Belvedere, Illinois. So,
that's right. You're going across the border to Flatlanders.
Yep, we're going to go see the Flatlanders.
Yep, bring some buffalo trace.
So we got a lot of people filing into the chat here. So you might notice behind me, I got the beautiful backdrop of the teardrop trailer. So I was going to have the camera pointed the other direction, but it's not a whole lot you can see right now. It's just a big empty field.
We can see the traffic going past in the reflection.
A little bit, and if you look off at the red building here in the corner, that's actually the restrooms. So it's
different type of traffic.
Yeah. So. We'll say hello to people, Scout and Brent, and of course the Flatlander
himself.
Yeah, Scott and.
Come for the wisdom, stay for the tomfoolery.
There you go. Oh, Mark's in Waukesha. That's right. So it's I'm not too far from him. Jefferson is about an hour's drive to the west of Waukesha.
Yeah.
And, so it's it's going to be. It looks like it's going to be a good weekend. A little bit cool. Temperatures will be in the 60s, but that's perfect weather. Fall is here,
right?
And
low 50s, upper 40s for camping. That's like perfect. It says the guy who sleeps with a fan in his room just 8 months out of the year. I need it cold to sleep.
There you go. Chris from Boise, and we got another Chris here. He says that I can't wait to take his kids on a POTA, and they will. I guarantee they'll probably love it. So it's all right.
Well, your kids may love it. My daughter goes, "Dad, come on, stop playing with your stupid radio." That's what happens when you have a 15-year-old.
Yep. Yeah, it says it looks like the weather is good. We got we're going to have a sunset tonight, but it was raining earlier today. But it looks like it's going to be the rain's going to keep off for the rest of the rest of the weekend. So yeah, playground equipment. There you go. Now you're thinking. You'll find a spot to set up.
No. The kids play on the playground equipment. You cannot load up the equipment as an antenna. Dipole. But could you use it as ladder line?
Oh, you could do something like that, I would imagine. Yeah. So, just a reminder, everybody, we'll try to we'll answer your ham radio questions on the fly. So throw them into the chat. We do have a pretty full show, but we do want to catch your questions too, because that really that kind of random stuff is what really makes it super interesting. So.
Right. Pick our brains or pick our combined brain. or 3/4. We'll try
So
it.
Brent, yeah. So Brent asks, how resonant can you get a swing set? So
Depends. Are you trying to get it all the way around, or is this, 180 degrees?
I'm still wondering what the what the radiation pattern would be on that.
Especially if you
Yeah. So, oh, I hear Chris she's in the back there. She says the resonance will be up and down on the swing set. So
oh. Can you use the merry-go-round for circular polarization?
I would think so. I absolutely
there you
would
go.
think so.
Have you seen the video on YouTube of the idiots that put a jet engine on a merry-go-round?
Yes, I saw you shared that with me.
My kind of evil.
Oh, Justin's got a question here. He's asking, may have missed it, but do you have a setup in the trailer? I do not have a setup inside the trailer, but I have taken my equipment inside the trailer and used it. Normally, I sit out here when I'm operating. You know, if it's 30 degrees or if it's 90 degrees, we've got a. It's hard to see, but up above me, I've got a 270-degree awning that gives really good protection from the elements. So it's we've cozied up in the back there and set a computer on your lap, and then the radio on the little table, and operated in there sometimes too. But yeah, for the most part, it's got to be a pretty cold night to do that if you don't want to sit on the out here. All right. Yeah, the Flatlander's going to tune up the teeter-totter. So, yeah, we got a lot of people that are...
Yeah, the teeter-totter is good for 6 meters, probably.
Yeah. So, yeah, Sam Ham says, yeah, it's... oops. Because oh, here we go. Justin, here we go. Plan on doing the same thing when I make General. I have a 5x10 hiker trailer. That's a... those are nice trailers, too. AA0Z, I can't remember his name now. He's got the hiker trailer, so get in touch with him, and he'll tell you what to do to get it all hamified. So, all right, I did grab a couple questions here, and oh, this is a really good one. I like this question from Charles. I got a new computer here, and I'm doing a terrible job with the keypad. What is the best or easiest POTA antenna to get contacts on 60 meters, 80 meters, and the upper bands to try to get the N1CC10 bands? I find the lower bands the most difficult. Yeah. Okay, so I haven't quite got the N1CC yet. I think I got 2 more parks, and I'm just saving those 2. I want 2 particular parks on that certificate. So I've just been kind of holding off until I get to those parks to finish it up. But if I'm coming into a park to camp for the weekend and I want to work 10 bands, the number 1 antenna I'm going to put up is a 71-foot end-fed random wire antenna, because that antenna, 71 feet, with a 9-to-1 matching unit or a transformer at the feed point. With a tuner, you can work 10 through 80 meters, all of those bands. And that would probably be the easiest. I think that would be the easiest method to get 10 bands. And that's what I do. And then what I do is we carry 2 2-meter handhelds. And then between Chris and I, we get 2 meters and 70 centimeters for the last 2 bands.
Right. 160 is going to be it's nearly impossible for POTA.
Yeah,
60 meters is it's so hard to do 60 meters of anything that's cut for any other band, because it's an odd harmonic. But you don't need 60 meters for N1MM or
N1CC. Yeah,
N1CC.
You don't. If you go 80, 40, 30, 20, 17, 15, 12, 10, 2 meters and 70 centimeters, you got your 10 bands right there. And then you can.
So you don't get 6 meters on that?
You don't need, well, if that's your strategy, you don't need 6 meters.
Okay.
But if you don't have somebody to do the 2 meter and 70 centimeters with, then, or you're able to eke out a 2 meter contact and not a 70 centimeter, maybe then you keep 6 meters in your back pocket or 60 meters in your back pocket at that rate.
Right.
The only time I've ever gotten contacts on 60 meters is when I've done a schedule with Travis. So.
Right. Okay.
But other than that, it's that's about it. Flatliner says 160 is doable. FT8, It is. It and actually those lower bands, 80 meters, almost certainly I'm getting that contact digital FT8. Scout says 1.25 meters can be done in the park too. Absolutely. If you got a buddy and
right.
And a 220
if there's
radio
people actually out there waiting for you, hey, 10 gigs is doable as well if you got some people set up for it.
Yep. So we got Brent says he's got the N1CC, or he's done N1CC. Google the W0B&C coil, and he uses that with my 17-foot whip. So I don't know if I can get that pulled up quickly or not, but we will look. Oops, I don't think I typed it in right. BNC.
Yeah, it's not loading for me right now either, so.
BNC. Loading coils. Okay. Oh, yeah, they're... let's see if I can... I'll pull the... I'll do a share screen here. And there we go. That's the... It's similar to a Wolf River coil. So...
the Silver Bullet 1000 would be about the top one there.
Yep. It's just a little bit different construction, it looks like, but So that is certainly an option.
He's doing a center load on that instead of a bottom load.
Yep.
Right. So he's doing it a little bit different than how the how Wolf River does it. On Wolf River coils, usually the coil is at the bottom.
It's at the bottom.
Loading it in the center, and that changes the pattern a little bit.
Yes, it does.
So now, if you were able to get some sort of like tube with 3/8 by 16 thread on both ends, you could raise up a coil and then center load that, and then that would change that pattern a little bit. Some say that's better for POTA, but I think with a 17-foot whip on it, that is it's kind of a tall order.
You're gonna have to look at guying it, of course. So but
and Brent says he clips a 75-foot wire to his coil to make that. That's a lot of wire.
Yeah. Dave says 40 to 10 end-fed half wave loads up surprising. If you the wire itself, now if you unclip the wire from the transformer from a 40 meter end-fed half wave, you can load it on 80 and 160 meters for digital contacts. So
okay.
So a lot of options there. You can have using the vertical Silver Bullet 1000 or that W0B&C coil or something like that. Or like I said, my favorite is the end-fed random wire. But those, that end-fed random wire has been my go-to for working all 10 bands.
Yeah, if you have the real estate to get something up while doing POTA, then the more wire is the better.
Yep, absolutely. So that was a great question. Brent 45 says it's weird seeing Michael without my non-Heil headphones.
Right.
Since I'm remote today, I got these little things on, and it's It's crazy. It's not like I got the big comfort cans from the shack.
Right. In the winter, he wears the Princess Leia earmuffs.
Yes.
Keeps him real warm.
Brent says if anybody's interested, hit him up. His contact information is on QRZ, and he'll tell you more about those coils. So
Excellent.
all right, I like that question. I don't know if I'm just gonna look back here and see if there was anybody else. Yep, another question quick. Sar Alex, I use a 49-to-1 unin with 66 feet of wire as an end-fed half wave and get good results on 40 through 10. I see I can use a 9-to-1 unin with less wire for the same bands. Is a longer radiating element always better? Okay, this is a really good question because the general consensus, the general feeling is that more wire in the air is always better. But now the conundrum is that we're talking about two totally different styles of antennas. The 49-to-1 end-fed half wave is using, that's a resonant piece of wire, 67 feet for 40 meters, and the transformer, gives you the proper impedance at the feed point for operation on 40 meters, and then on any of those harmonic frequencies. A non-resonant piece of wire, you could only need to do the same number of bands. You only need 41 feet of wire, and with the 9-to-1 transformer. And at this point, it's not really the lengths of the wire that make a difference in comparing these two antennas, but we're going to talk about the general efficiency of the transformers themselves that would make it a better performer. And I think, basically they're pretty, efficiency-wise, they are pretty similar. Between a 9-to-1 end-fed random wire, 41 feet of wire, and the 67-foot end-fed half wave with the 49-to-1 transformer. That's the efficiencies of the transformers themselves are probably negating any kind of performance edge between those little differences in the wire length.
Right. Now, if you're comparing end-fed random to end-fed random, apples to apples, longer is better. The longer you get on those non-resonant lengths, the more bandwidth you're going to have, especially on the lower bands. But if you're going to have two end-fed half wave and an end-fed random 40 through 10, well, then really the end-fed half wave at a resonance of 41 feet is probably going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah,
and compared to the 60 whatever that you would have on the random.
Yep, and I would agree with that. If you were using 71 feet with a random wire antenna, I think on the 40-meter band, it's probably going to outperform the 41-foot end-fed random wire in that regards. Because there, if we're comparing wire lengths with an equivalent transformer, then wire is king.
Right. Now, on the other hand, if you have a 41-foot antenna and you're able to get it up higher and hang it clear versus a 70-something foot antenna that you can't get quite as high, or you got trees and stuff in the way, then your 41 is probably going to work a little bit better. So a lot of different things to compare there. However, if you can find a difference and you can quantify that difference, write us a story about it, because we'd really like to see it. Right?
Absolutely. I'd like to. I don't know. I'd have to look up and see if there's been any research or anybody's done any modeling or real world testing. But that's just kind of my gut feeling on it. So I think I saw a couple of comments here, and Flatlander, with a random wire antenna, more wire will always give you more bandwidth. 71 is a good compromise. That is true.
Yep.
That is absolutely true. And 71 feet, 80 through 10 meter or 80 through 10 meters. I think that's like the perfect. That's the perfect random wire antenna.
Yeah, you can run that in a inverted L, inverted B. You can run it. You can run it completely horizontal. You can put a dog leg in it.
Yeah, if you're running out of space, dog leg them, and yeah,
it's pretty forgiving. I mean, it really is, because you already have a fairly high impedance, right? So that 9-to-1 really takes care of a lot of that impedance issue. So even if you got a couple twigs or something, as long as it's insulated wire, it ain't going to be that big of a deal.
No, absolutely not. So, So, yep. And then just to follow up there, since we're talking antennas, the Flatlander says, does the Rybakov antenna compare to a random wire antenna? Well, that is a great question. The Rybakov is a vertical non-resonant antenna. The radiator is 25 feet long. It uses a 4-to-1 transformer at the base and 4 17-foot ground radials. It's I forget the name of the guy that developed it. It's an Italian gentleman, and it's named Rybakov. It's not. It's actually named Rybakov, which is Russian for fisherman, because his first iteration of the antenna was suspended with one of those 7-meter rigid, like a bamboo fishing pole. So that's how it got sort of the fisherman name. And the neat thing about it is, with a tuner, you can go 80 meters up to 10 meters, potentially 6. On the lower bands, its performance is pretty marginal. Its sweet spot is actually 20, 15, and surprisingly 10. When you use this antenna on the 10-meter band, it develops these lobes that have the super low takeoff angle, and it makes it just an ideal DX antenna. So if you're looking for great DX action and you want an easy to deploy vertical antenna, that 25-foot Rybakov is great for 10, 12, and 15 meters, and even 20 at that matter. I've gone gangbusters with that. When you get down to 40 and lower, then its performance really trickles off.
Yeah, remember, portable activations, generally speaking, when you're just throwing a wire in the air, 20, 25, maybe 30 feet in the air, you're still very envious, right?
Yep.
A lot of that going straight up. You don't have really good takeoff angle. It'll be decent, right? If you get that 30 feet in the air, it's going to be okay lower bands, but you're really going to have more of an envious antenna than anything else. You got to get the antenna above 40 feet really to start getting that lower takeoff angle with a wire antenna that's horizontal, right? Whereas when you have the Rybakov, you're already set up for a low takeoff angle on the upper bands. So that's the thing too. Now, if you just want to do wire antennas, keep yourself a 9-to-1 and a 4-to-1 in a backpack with a bunch of wire and a tape measure.
There you go.
And I think you're really set on that. LDG makes these great little ununs.
Yes.
But not 4-to-1. I think they make a couple other different flavors of them too. And they're not bad. They're like $25 or $30.
About $30 a piece. Yeah, they're inexpensive. It's something, if you don't want to wind your own, it's the perfect thing to throw in your kit as a for a quickie antenna maker. So.
Yeah, throw a couple on your bag, and then if you got some wire, you can find a half spool of wire, like 16 gauge MTW style wire. Man, you can go get gangbusters and make whatever you want with that.
Oh, absolutely. So, since we're talking about the Rybakov, dang, that chameleon 25-foot whip might make an easy setup. It absolutely would, because that antenna, I think that antenna is almost purpose built for that. Ground mounted, because the Rybakov is ground mounted. You could fashion either a 4-to-1 or even, I think, Chameleon's 5-to-1 transformer, their MPass Lite or MPass Micro transformers, and give it more, instead of that single counterpoise, give it 4 counterpoises, and you're just gonna scream with that.
Right. I think the only thing that I would say is with a 25-foot whip, that's going to get real top heavy.
Oh,
And
it
you're going to have
does.
a hard time supporting that. I mean, you can do the same thing with a 25-foot piece of wire and put that in a tree.
Yep.
Honestly, and save a lot of money.
Well, I bought the 25-foot whip last month, and I put it on the air this last weekend. And my first impression of this whip is that is a lot of whip in the air.
Put your whip in the air like you just don't care.
And boy, oh boy, did it! It sways, and you got to have a real rigid support. The spike mount, I think.
You have a big base, but I'm sure you probably had to put some sandbags or something on that to keep it steady.
Well, the base stayed up, but it was still a little bit. It was still a little bit twisty and swivelly. I think the spike mount, the chameleon spike mount, would be ideal because you could just drive that sucker into the ground.
Oh yeah,
and it's not gonna go anywhere. It's a good whip. It's they did a good job with it, but boy, it is a lot of whip.
Yeah, it's like, so this weekend I had the 17-foot Wolf River coil whip out, and I was having problems keeping that up on Saturday or on Sunday, I think. It's just enough of breeze and it will just blow it right over. So definitely, if you're going to have these 17 or 25-foot whips, or the Rivercoff or a vertical of some sort, you really got to think about that. Maybe throw a sandbag or something, or a spike even, to keep that upright, or else you're going to have problems.
Spike or guy or something like that. Absolutely. It's
Whereas if you just put a wire in the tree at 25 feet, that ain't gonna tip over.
No.
Just my thought.
The Coffee and Ham Radios guy do make a Ribikov that's wire based. They call it their Poseidon, and 25 feet of wire. Just hang it from a tree. And
if you put it next to the outhouse, is that the Poseidon's kiss? As he takes a drink of water, blows it out his nose.
Yeah, there you go. Spit take right there.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Hey, we're getting to the bottom of the hour here, and I just saw somebody. Jeff is asking, where are you? I'm in Kenosha County. I'm in Jefferson this weekend. We're at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds for the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival. Christine is taking a class tomorrow, and I'm going to be roving several parks here in the Rock River Valley. So, Rock
Where
River
the
area.
men and the sheep are scared.
So she'll be spending her hard-earned money on yarn and wool and things like that, and taking her class.
Keep her happy.
That's right.
I should talk. My wife is going to be there on Saturday, so both of us are going to lose a paycheck or two there.
Yeah, she's coming down. Yeah, she's a knitter, so it's I probably won't see her on Saturday, but that's a.
Well, if you see her, get a photo and put it on Facebook so everyone shows that my wife does actually exist.
Yeah, Jeff, we're at the fair. We're at the Jefferson County Fair Park, the camping inside the fairgrounds here. And hit me up on email. Just drop me an email, kb9vbr@yahoo.com, and maybe we can connect or something.
Yeah.
So
45's got it. When's the mutton busting?
They got sheepdog trials.
So no lies. Spooner has a rodeo the second weekend in July every year, and it's a fairly big rodeo for Wisconsin, right? No one thinks Wisconsin and rodeo. But my little nephew, who I think was 6 or maybe 7 at the time, he was pretty young. Well, 6-7 years ago, won the mutton busting competition without practice. That kid figured it out. He was just going, and he held on for the whole 8 seconds out of that poor sheep. And I think he got like $50 and a trophy. And then the next year, he came out as the as an incoming champion. He got to parade around on a sheep. It was
wow.
it was something else. A couple second graders gave him their phone number. I don't know. It was weird.
Give her full number. Call me.
Or maybe it
All
wasn't
right.
phone number. Maybe it was like, Snapchat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever the kids are doing these days. So.
Exactly.
Well,
speaking about
it's
social media, tell us about your social media here.
My social media. You know what? It's there's a lot of things that happen in the background in order to keep this crazy train a rolling, and
Right.
number one support comes from our patrons over at Patreon, and we got a lot of new ones this last month. So I just want to do a quick acknowledgement of all of the new people that joined us. On our supporter level, Chris Ellie, Scott Mack, Julie Bernoski. On our friends, Dick Smith, Todd, W3EME, and Jack Wiffle. Thank you so much for your support and joining the Patreon crew. You get a lot of bonus content if you head over to the Patreon site. So it's I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And then the group that goes over above and beyond are our producers. And I want to just acknowledge all of our associate producers: Bill Jobs, Brian Liebig, Dave White, new producer Don, WB4UBK, he just joined, Joe Marhane, and also our new producer John, N6SDK. Thanks for joining us. John T. Young, Josh Senefeld, Kent Efting, Larry Taylor, Lyle, Mark Martins, Michael Shappy, Michael Redzicki, W4PHO, Michael, KD8GIJ, and Tim Hemmelman. Thank you so much for your continued support. It's greatly appreciated, and we can't do it without you. And if you want to become a patron, you can do that too, to support the mission to educate and inspire. That's at patreon.com/KB9VBR antennas. And of course, all of this is brought to you by our sponsor. KB9 VBR antennas are simple, effective, and affordable VHF and UHF antennas for amateur radio, MURS, public safety, and GMRS. Made in the USA with quality parts. Get yours online at jpole-antenna.com.
I know why you have got so many new Patreons in the past 2 months.
Why is that?
Been here.
They love it when Dave shows up. So.
Oh, that's what Dave was on last month. Speaking of which, Dave, you and I have to talk.
Yes.
Dave. Yes, because I took the plunge. People wonder, what kind of plunge did Joe take? I went and bought a Zygu.
Oh yeah, why don't we jump right into that? Joe, why don't you tell us all about your...
I've been a Yaesu fanboy for so long. And I was thinking about things and what I want to do. I haven't bought a new radio in a long time, guys. I haven't. I think the unfortunate shipping all the Michaels into the house incident was back in 2019, right before COVID hit. So it's been 4 or 5 years since I've really spent any money, and I didn't spend a lot of money. So hold on here. The Zygu. I'm gonna pull it out of the bag here. This isn't much for a radio. Here's my hand.
And that's the Zygu G90.
That's the G90, and it does have the fan on the bottom here.
Oh.
So the first problem with this Zygu G90 is that there's no heat sink.
Nope.
So there's a standalone fan that you bolt on the bottom, which, so if you go to Radioddity, who I think is now the sole supplier of Zygu in the U.S., $449, you get the Zygu G90, the fan, some stands to keep it propped up, and a few other little things. It's a stupid deal, guys. It really is. I'm not promoting, I'm not being paid by Radioddity. I mean, if Radioddity wants to pay me, I will. But I think $450 for a 20 watt, all mode, all band, 160 through 6 or 160 through 10, excuse me. It's a lot of bang for the buck.
It is.
It really is. It's SDR. It is easy on the power consumption. And 20 watts will do a lot of things. Okay. Sunday I set up at 2 different parks. Conditions weren't the greatest, and I was having some antenna problems. So I got 12 at one park, 16 at another before I had to shut down. The next day I went out on Monday and I set up with the same antenna. I had not charged my 15 amp hour battery. I pulled out 49 contacts in an hour.
Hey,
on 20 watts.
Not bad.
Okay. So people who say, QRO to the masses, whatever. Yeah, thanks, Gavin. Dark side. I can go to the dark side. 20 watts. 20 watts will do you, especially right now with the bands. We'll talk a little about band conditions as summer is wrapping up right now.
Yeah.
But with the bands the way they are, man, on 20 meters, 20 watts is all you need. And I think on 40 meters too in the evening, you're doing perfectly fine. So if you guys are looking for a cheap way to get into, I'll say $450 is not exactly cheap for everyone, but an inexpensive way to get into POTA or just activating mobile or portable, the G90 is the way to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The only problem I had was I had a hard time getting it set up for FT8s. That's why I got to talk to David. He's got to tell me what his settings are on WSJTX. But yeah, guys, it is light. Even with that fan, it's light. It's as light as an 817. You're not unless you're gonna go like with a 705 or maybe Yaesu's new FT, whatever they call it now. You're not going to get much later than this.
No. Yeah, the 45 says, 20 is great if you activate, not much if you're trying to bust a pile up.
Right. So, like for field day, winter field day, I'm still going to use the 897 at a full 100 watts.
Yeah.
Right. But I was getting the comparable signal reports on a lot of places, 5.5, 5.7, and I get that with 100 watts too. So I don't know. I might try breaking a few pileups and let's see what happens. Maybe it is all antenna, guys. Maybe it really is all antenna.
The antenna makes a big difference, that's for sure. So, yeah.
My Elmer, one of the first things he taught me now 10 years ago, because we have to talk about that soon, is that it's not the power, it's the antenna. Don't worry about buying an amp when you can get more bang for your buck with an antenna. So.
Yep. So we got a couple. Yeah, the G90 is a fantastic radio. Upgraded the fan to a whisper quiet, and it's amazing. So, killer internal tuner. So
yeah, that's another thing too. You can like tune a 10-to-1.
Yeah,
SWR with that tuner. When I saw that, that's super. Now I'm using a resonant 17-foot whip. So I just touched it up with the tuner. But man, if you guys are working like with the NFED half wave or a random wire, yeah, because I always kept a manual tuner in the bag for the 897. So if I can do this with a 10-to-1, that's basically what a manual tuner would do. So
yep.
that's another thing.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the reminder on that.
Yeah. Well, here's a source for setup videos for FT8, Ernie's Tech videos. So
okay,
he might be able to help you there too. So
yeah, I've seen a lot of people. So I guess the G90 setup in WSJTX doesn't work.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I've read different things, and I don't know how old that video was, because there's always updates on the software. So
yep,
we'll find out. We'll definitely find out.
Yeah. Well, that's great that it's working for you. That's Dave keeps telling me I need to get a G90. You need to get a G90. They're so much fun. So
they are. Now, I will say this: compared to other SDRs, it doesn't have a lot of features, right? There's not a lot of bells and whistles, where you can play with the envelope a little bit, narrow the bandwidth. You can shift it a little bit. You know, you can do that, but it's not full on like any of ICOM 7800 series SDRs or
Yeah.
the FT 710 or anything like that. But you don't need it. I don't think. I thought it was good. The only problem is it got swamped at home with a local AM station.
Mm-hmm.
There's no roofing filter on that. It did get swamped.
That's a problem with that's a problem with SDR though too. Inexpensive SDR is they just don't have that selectivity.
Right. I thought the waterfall display was decent. The display itself is decent. And one thing I'm going to say over Yaesu is that it doesn't have 100 different menu settings that you got to flip through.
Yep.
It's simple. Okay. And there's a couple menus, there's like 8 or 10 items in each menu. Right. So if you can get through that, that's not too bad. Whereas like the 817, 897, 857, and the 891, which you're very familiar with, those menus go on forever.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
You can change a lot of things. You know, especially on the 891, you can change a lot of things, but that's hard to do on the fly. Whereas with this, it's fairly simple, even with a small screen. So I'll give the designers kudos on that. Yeah, Dave 100% agrees with me. I owned an 891. It is menu hell. You know, now you can on 891, you can program some of those function buttons to do that stuff.
Yeah,
but that's 3 function buttons out of 100 different functions.
A lot of times though, with the 891 is once you get that deep menu stuff set, you seldom have to ever go back in there again.
Unless you're changing between digital and sideband.
Yeah, even that to a certain degree. It's you can kind of there's ways in which you can minimize the having to flip back and forth. So all right. So you know what? That's great. We're gonna have to we might have to do some videos with that rig then.
Yeah, I will have that at the ham radio campout.
All right.
And I decided I'd be a total Radioddity fanboy. I got their little 25-watt DMR dual band like a year or so ago. Right? I've used it like once or twice. Like and it's just a little dinky thing. It's like this. But I'm like, man, that'd be like a nice little Go Box radio. And I grabbed it. I never made the Go Box. So I'm going to bring that out too and be the Radioddity fanboy for the weekend.
There you go.
Radioddity again. If you want to send me something in the mail. But we'll have fun. You know, that's the thing.
Maybe we can get you hooked up or something.
Yeah. And during the day, I'm going to leave the park for a little bit and just kind of do a little rove. And we're going to get that thing on the air and see how it does.
All right. There's a lot of opportunities. If you want to rove around, we'll talk about the camp out in a couple minutes. I want to grab a question here first, but there are a lot of rove opportunities. So yeah, you can don't have to drive far to get a lot of parks.
Yeah.
So. All right. I got a lot of people that have been asking about my recent POTA Performer video. And we're going to start off here with Charlie. Can Michael address the real-world experience using the POTA Performer? I am in the middle of a build. Let me tell you that antenna is absolutely fantastic. So.
Whoa. What are you saying, Michael?
Is it
the J pole of HF antennas?
It might be the J pole of HF antennas. It's so good.
Yeah.
We were out this last weekend down in the Mississippi Valley, Merrick State Park, and I had the POTA Performer up for most of the weekend. And the POTA Performer, if you haven't seen the video yet, it's an elevated resonant quarter wave, a vertical radiator, and then 2 elevated counterpoises. And we put little links in the counterpoises, so it's easy to match them to the whatever band or frequency you're in. But if you put the counterpoises at a 90-degree angle, you create this amazing front to back ratio of about 4 to 6 dB of gain front to back. So you can sort of aim the antenna, and if you want to focus on Europe, you point it east. If you want to focus on the West Coast, you point that vertex west, and it really does work. I had it pointed west, and I was picking up Arizona, New Mexico, California, Oregon, Washington, and beautiful.
So if you want to get Hawaii and Alaska for your worked all states POTA, this may be something to consider.
I'd set it to 15 meters, and I would use something like that, because since it has that beautiful receive capability, you're gonna hear those weak stations. So
yeah, so I'm interested in this. So I used to have a buddy pole, or no, a buddy stick.
Buddy
So
stick.
the buddy stick uses a elevated radio, elevated counterpoise they call it, because it's only one. But it's tunable, and it's just on a winder. And what I did is I had little tape marks for spots, but tuning it was a bear. Even if you set it up the exact same way in two different locations, you wouldn't have the same results. So with the links being set, how does that compare? Do you have comparable results every time you set it up?
Pretty close. I've used it about 4 or 5 times, and what you do is, because the counterpoise links are preset, you might have slight variations in SWR, but just kind of tweak the whip a little bit. I think the big downfall with the buddy stick is it's got the whip, and then it's got the coil. So and finding that that spot on the loading coil is always the hardest.
Right.
And if you eliminate that coil portion, and you're just using a resonant whip, the process becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, and the buddy stick it's a decent build, but it's a short whip as well. So your knife's edge in tuning, I think, is another problem that I generally had with it. But in comparable size, the coil is similar to the Sporty 40 coil. So your Q is about the same. It just depends on the size of the whip.
But I had amazing results with it. Now band conditions were pretty good this last weekend, so there is that. That definitely makes a difference. But otherwise, no, it's a keeper. I'll probably be deploying it again. Let's see, Charlie is asking. I did use it on 40 meters, and 40 meters is okay. What you do on the 40 meter band is you add the Sporty 40 coil, you extend the whip completely, and then you take your two 17-foot radials and you chain them together for one 33-foot counterpoise, and it was okay. It wasn't outstanding. Equivalent performance, I think, that I was getting with my other vertical setups. So,
did you see any directionality though on 40 meters with that? Well, of course, you're down to one counterpoise then.
Yeah, well, you're down to one counterpoise. I did not really notice a whole lot of directivity or directionality. I was I was just trying to think here. My counterpoise was kind of pointed south because that was just the orientation of our campsite. I was getting a lot of Minnesota stations, but mostly because I was next to the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. So it's but not a no, but otherwise it's I was hauling in stations about equivalent distances than I would with just about my other 40 meter setups on in the time, in the evening hours. So
okay. So you're saying the POTA Performer for 20 and up is a rock star.
It's a rock star. Yep.
Okay.
And it's pretty good. It's pretty good on 40 meters. So
okay. Yeah. If anyone wants to try it on 80 and make two radials for that, let us know. That's a lot of wire to keep up in the air, elevated above the ground. So.
Yep. Yeah, Don Z says, yeah, 100% agree on that. Last 4 activations yield wonderful results, 10 watts. So it's it definitely performs. Rob's asking, did the POTA Dominator compare to the Performer? Now, I did build a Dominator, and the difference between the Dominator and the Performer is that the Dominator, you have your vertical section is actually in a half wave instead of a quarter wave, and then at the feed point you're using a 49-to-1 transformer for the match, and you lay a counterpoise on the ground, but the counterpoise is set at specific lengths depending, so there's depending on what band you're on, so that it does. I think the counterpoise adds a bit more capacitance to it than a counterpoise of any random amount. I don't. It might now. I only used it once. I think the band conditions were a little bit different on Sunday than they were on Saturday, so it was hard to really compare the two. I'm going to have to try that again, I think, to really get a better understanding of it. But I didn't see a big performance jump in using the Dominator on the second day of my activation than I did with the Performer on my first day of activation. So we're gonna have to play with that a little bit more.
Right, maybe next month.
Yeah, we'll get it on the air again. We'll get it on the air again. Best bands 10 through 20, 10, 12, 15, 17, and 20, because you're using, resonant quarter wave with that 17-foot whip and resonant counterpoises. So it's okay. So, and we're talking a little bit about propagation. Excuse me. It's interesting. It's a lot of people have been complaining all summer long about the summer doldrums. It's the propagations in the crap house. It's terrible. I'm not getting anywhere.
About. I've been having just it's been a bang up for me.
It's and for a certain extent for the last 4 months or 3-4 months, it has been really kind of a variable, and there's been some challenges, deep fades and things like that over the last few months. And there is an actual scientific reasoning for this of what they call the summer doldrums. And I found an article online that I kind of wanted to share with that. I'm just gonna pull the screen up here, and if I can find it. Maybe I don't have it.
Uh-oh.
My screen disappeared. The screen I wanted to share disappeared. We'll get her. I have these things all queued up because if I'm at home, I've got 2 screens and I can see everything. Here I'm sitting on one screen, and I have to.
You should have brought the second screen.
I should have brought the second screen. That's absolutely
that would have been really
right.
awkward while camping.
Oh, this is crazy enough as it is. All right, here we go. So this was written by Thomas NU7US. Why is propagation on shortwave HF terrible right now? And basically, what's happening in the summer months is it's got a lot to do with the F layer. During the summer, increased solar radiation heats the atmosphere, because the sun is a lot higher in the northern hemisphere, and it's going to heat things up. That causes the F2 layer to expand. And as it expands, it's spreading out into a wider space. So its density decreases, and so that weakens its ability to reflect radio waves. With this extra daytime sunlight, that also creates, more absorption of the D layer. So between the weakening of the F2 layer and the increased absorption of the D layer, what do you end up with? You end up with kind of dumpy propagation, and that happens. It starts about the end of April, and it runs through about now, really, through mid, the end of August. Into I feel like I've really kind of hit that turning point over Labor Day weekend. It felt like all of a sudden the propagation just sort of shifted, and I heard a lot more, stronger, better signals on 20 meters this last weekend than I have, for the last 3 months. So it's as we move into the fall months, what we're gonna, we'll all of a sudden, that shift with shorter days and less absorption in that D layer, we're going to get, better performance on these upper bands, especially now that we're at the peak of the solar cycle. Listen for 15 meters, 12 meters, and especially 10 meters, because from now until, it's 10 meters is going to get progressively better until we get to like December, January, and it's just going to be, December 10 meters is always amazing. That's why the 10 meter contest is in December. That's the perfect month for the 10 meter band, because just short days, even though 10 meters is a daylight band, it's just that those short days with reduced absorption really just kick that band into overdrive. So.
Yeah, especially gray line 10 meters in the winter is stupid crazy. That's the time that I've worked 10 meters on Japan in not great conditions. That's when you really need to be listening to that in early morning or late afternoon, early evening, right around dawn and dusk, when that gray line comes through, and then that's when you pick up some real fun stuff. You can hear it come in. You're just listening, and then there'd be a very faint station. And I heard a very faint JA station, and I waited about 20 minutes, and then it got booming. And that's when I made my call, and I picked them up on the first call. I'm like, oh, yeah. Your contests, your big contests are all late October, early November, right? Those are the ones, and again, there you go, because they're picking up that. Now, another thing, too, is that in the summer, on the lower bands, we're affected by storms, right? All the atmospheric stuff. You don't have any of that in the fall, right? You don't got to worry about that. At least up here in the northern hemisphere, that helps out. So I'm really looking forward to this winter, especially stuck at home. And, what else you got to do here in Wisconsin other than, build snowmen? Well, we can work a lot of DX this year, I think.
It's going to be, because this is the peak. We're at the top of the cycle right now. So it's and as Colin says, it's not, in VK, it's not terrible here, but it's also their spring. So it's you'll, as we get better, as our conditions get better and better, them in the southern hemisphere, they're going to see that shift the other direction. So
So this is probably the time, guys, if you want to work Asia, Australia, this is when you got to start trying to work them. So
the equinox, the equinox is coming up in
2 weeks.
2 weeks, and actually it's perfect, the best time to do that kind of stuff, just because the way the sun is. I had another article here. You can see as the season changes to the September equinox, you can see the openings shift earlier in the day. Not so much absorption, but it extends into the higher bands. 10 and 12 meters are great bands on a north-south path in the fall, and 15 meters is reliably open for 13 hours all day long. So, and that's about the time when the equinox hits. So it's that's be aware of that in about 2 weeks, or as we're recording this, on September 21st, which a day so memorable, Earth, Wind, and Fire recorded a song about it.
And it's his birthday.
Do you remember? I don't remember that because when you were born, that was a long time ago.
That was a long
Had
time
Moses
ago.
come down from the mountain yet?
So, all right. So, we're through the summer doldrums, and it's going to get better.
And thank you for coming to Michael's TED Talk.
It's a TED Talk, absolutely. All right. Hey, Joe, I heard you had to renew your license.
Holy smokes. Okay, so you guys remember about 7-8 years ago when the FCC said, we're going to do away with the fee for GMRS licenses? Because for like a $30 license, it costs $70 to process it. It's got to be twice that much now. Because the amount of steps that you got to go through to renew the license is stupid.
It
So,
is.
anyways, October 29th is my 10-year anniversary. So I am on my first renewal. Yay, whatever.
Yay.
Another 15 years before I could join the quarter century wireless club.
You can be an old fart like me.
Right. But I did not go through the league to do it. I just decided to go straight through the FCC website. And holy smokes, is it just a pain in the butt? Side note, full disclosure, about a year ago, I have my amateur license. I have a GMRS that I've never used, and I have a club call. So I went and I worked on getting all three of those FRNs together. The FRN was basically like your social security number with the FCC. So that was all together, and I actually had created a logon for that website. Now that's the CORE's website, but we always look at the ULS website for our amateur stuff, and that's where you begin. So if you go to what this grinds my gears. I wish we still had that drop. Anyway, so you go to the ULS website and you pull up your information, and there'll be a little link that says click here, and you go through all the steps, verify your address, confirm that you haven't been convicted of a felony in the past 10 years. And fortunately, the Supreme Court has told me that because of my status as a former president, I don't have to be worried about being convicted of a felony. Oh, wait, I'm not a president. Never mind. So you go through all that rigmarole, and it's okay. Now you can go to the CORE's website. All right. And if you've never been to the CORE's website, then you got to worry about logging on and creating a logon for that. Now, I had already done that, but still a rigmarole. And from there, then you go to there and you verify your information again. And then you have to put your information in basically through a third-party payer, through, I think, the Treasury Department, and then process it. And it's still then 2 days to process the payments. Really? So geez. This whole thing where they make the FCC charge you $35 to recoup some of the losses, they're losing more money processing that payment.
Oh, yeah.
Than what they're actually charging you. It is absolutely bonkers. Only the U.S. government could do this. Okay, so rule number one, write your Congress people and tell them that this is stupid and explain why it's stupid. When you go through it, and you'll understand.
It's the Raybaum law, Raybaum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And two, if you are a member of the ARRL, use them to get it done, because they'll do all the dirty work for you. Right?
You still got to pay the fee.
Yeah.
The $35.
Yeah, but they're not charging you anything extra other than your annual membership. So if you already paid your membership for the year, you're good, right? So that's what I've got to say about that. It's really, the websites are not user friendly. They're not made for payments. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, again, we got to be nice to our friends of the FCC, because at the end of the day, they're kind of our benefactors.
They're the game in town. Yep.
Right. But at the same time, they're not made to be collecting payments. The website that they have, the CORE's website, is made for like commercial broadcasters who are making large payments, usually by like bank transfers and stuff, for commercial licenses, or like spectrum owners like AT&T, Verizon, things of that nature. It's not for us little guys with $35 payments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's too much. We're wasting our money.
So so you're good to go. I got another 5 years before I have to renew. But I think what I've done, since I've always been a league member, is on my first, I think on both renewals, my first and my second renewals, I went to a testing session and I filled out a 605 form and had to file it with, with the exam paperwork. This was
So there you go too. Can you still do that at a test session?
Yeah.
Okay. So hey, if you're coming to the ham radio campout, Michael's going to have some 605 forms.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to renew.
You got to write your FRN number on the form. You got to do so you have to have that. It's the 605 VEC form has a box for license renewal only, and if you are a league member, they will do that. They will take care of that paperwork for you gratis, and then you'll get the email from the FCC on how to make the payment.
Right. Oh, so you don't actually send them a check.
Mm-mm.
Right. Okay. So you still have to go through the rigmarole probably to. Yeah.
You still got to. Yeah.
Yeah. You still got to go to the Corps website. What you got to do.
Yeah. At some point in time, you will have to.
So,
but
okay. Yeah.
I think everybody in my family, Chris and my daughter, both. I've done all the renewals through the league, and but that was before. I think we've got them all renewed, before the $35 fee was instituted. So,
right. Well, now you're gonna have to tell Greta next time she owes you $35.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't even use it.
We'll keep her current. We'll keep it current. It's something it's good to have in your back pocket.
Right. It looks good on a resume. You young whippersnappers.
Oh, I tell you.
And if I had everything that looked good on a resume and everything that was on my permanent record from when I was 18, holy smokes.
Jeez.
Till it's hers has got it right. It's not even MySpace, man. It's not even MySpace. MySpace was a lot more user friendly than this. Right. Did I ever tell you about the dream I had once, Michael? I had a dream that MySpace and Facebook had merged.
Oh wow!
They called it My Face.
My Face. That's a terrible dream.
Yeah, with all the facial I had to go through facial recognition today and going and visiting a customer. That was a little weird. So like when you check in, it takes your photo, and then to check out, you just stand in front of the camera again and so, hello, Joe Schobel, are you leaving? Like, whoa.
Oh, that's crazy.
That was. Chris,
Dave's asking, is there going to be...
Go ahead.
Dave's asking, is there going to be a VEC testing session at the campout?
Well, thanks for asking, Dave. I'm glad you
Dave. As a matter of fact, there is, because
we have a very special testee.
Mm-hmm. So,
can we say who it is? If we say it, it's going to probably jinx him.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say Travis's son.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to get his license.
Call last week. Travis was like, can you guys put a session together at their campout? Like, well, yeah, it's been a couple of years since I've done one, but I'm still active, and Michael's done one the past year. So Michael's got all the paperwork.
I got all the paperwork because I'm the liaison. So
yeah, and he says we'll need another VE. And well, Travis was the one who signed my first license 10 years ago. And so when he says we'll need another VE, I knew right away what was going on, and it wasn't because Steph was getting her license. But Steph already has her general. So his son Caden wants to test, and this is going to be good. I even said, like, let's do it beforehand. Let's do it a couple weeks beforehand so he has his license and he can get on the air with us. But no, he says he's got to study a little bit. So hey, we're happy to do it. I look forward to signing Travis's kids' CSCE as Travis signed mine. So that's going to be pretty cool, I think.
As luck would have it,
you did as well, Michael. I think you were on my first one.
Yep, I signed it.
Yep,
I certainly signed your extra. So.
Yeah, because I think you were giving me obscene finger gestures when I passed.
So Dave says that he's a VE, which is good because as luck would have it, we need a third VE to sign.
Dave, you're hired.
So all right, we're good. If anybody else coming to the camp out is a VE, we'll let you sign in at least. So
yeah. Dave, just for the record, just because you're a VE at the session doesn't mean that you can charge back your camping fees for showing up.
Oh, but speaking of the ham radio campout, it's coming up in a little less than a month away, October 4th through the 6th, 2024. And we're going to be at Brunei Island State Park in northwestern Wisconsin. Brunei Island is about half hour or so, 40 minutes north of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, in that northwestern part of the state.
Right on the Chippewa River.
Chippewa River. The campout, we're totally booked. We've been totally booked for months. There have been a couple cancellations, and people have been able to pick up those campsites and get in. But just wanted to tell you a little bit about the campout. So I'm going to pull up the screen here, and like I said, this is our new logo at Brunei Island State Park, US 1442. And the neat thing about this campout is that there are so many other Parks on the Air entities around here. Part of the Ice Age Trail runs through the park. There is another state trail, the Old Abe State Trail.
Old Abe Trail, yep. Which is literally just at the driveway of the park, I think.
Yep, it terminates at the park, and this is an honest to goodness island, and you can get. I think I got the numbers on here. Maybe I don't. I thought I had the. It's an inland island, and you can get credit for that too if you do the Islands on the Air thing. So there is a lot of opportunity for for POTA at Brunei Island State Park. If you're in the vicinity, if you want to come in for the day and check it out, we'd love it to wander around. Like I said, we've got about 30 campers registered because the whole park is full, absolutely full.
I mean, there's a few non-hams that don't know what they're coming into. Sorry. If you booked at Brunei Island for this weekend and you're not a ham, I apologize. It's not going to be fun for you.
Yeah, that is true. Now we do have. I'm excited to announce we do have merchandise available. So if you're the kind of person, I'm going to bring up the merch page here, and there we go. We got lots of goodies. We've got caps, we've got sweatshirts, we've got t-shirts, we've got women's t-shirts, long sleeve, mugs. So tons of stuff. If you are interested, I will put the link in the. I got it. I'll grab the link here quick. I'll throw that.
Is this through the same company that did last year's?
Yes, it is, sir. It's the same company that did last year.
Yeah, someone had asked. We have a little Groups.io page for people who are already signed up. About if they run small and you had said that they run a little small, but I had a double XL hoodie, and that still fits fine. And it's
Yeah.
been through the wash a couple thousand times already because I wear it quite a bit, at least in the fall and winter and spring. But I didn't have too much of a problem. I don't know about any of the other clothing, but the hoodies, they fit fine.
They fit fine. They don't shrink. They're kind of true to size. Maybe they're not. They're definitely not oversized. So.
Yeah.
But,
so, guys like me who tend to have to buy things oversized because we're oversized. But it'll be great. Friday night, we'll have the big social around the campfire. Saturday, you and I will walk through the campsite, maybe do a live stream, go through and show everyone's rigs, do the walkabout for an hour. People are going to go on roves. Like I said, we said there's 3 or 4 other entities within easy driving distance of the park. Just get on the air, have fun. The leaves will be changing. It'll be perfect. Just as long as the rain goes out, well, it'll be great.
Yeah. It's gonna be a beautiful weekend.
Yep.
Usually early October is pretty decent. The dump stations, the water will still be turned on. So it's the fall color will be at its peak. It's gonna be a great time.
Yeah. Bring your rigs, bring your antennas. If you want to try an antenna, you're building antenna. You want to putz around with that for a while, we'll get it on the air. We'll see what happens, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's gonna be great.
Yep. Yeah. And bring your bandpass filters.
Oh yeah. I should probably order 1 or 2 of those.
The campground is next to the town of Cornell, Wisconsin. There's good cell coverage in the park. So
and they got that pizza place with the Reuben
brew pub.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, the Reuben Pizza was the best pizza ever.
Pizza. Oh, that was good. They still got it. So
yeah.
So it'll be a good time.
Night after that, if I remember right.
We'll be talking about the camp out a little bit next month. So it's if you're interested, if you want more details on it, drop me a line. I'll get you connected into the email list and things like that. So
yeah, and I actually think so. It's there's a 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
4th, 5th, and 6th.
4th and okay, so we will definitely have a show just before that. Okay.
Yep. Sure. Yep. So our next live stream will be on the 3rd.
Yep. Perfect.
So it'll be a great time.
Scout's bringing a real camper and not a pop-up.
He's got a little teardrop like me.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you do with the fish shack? Are you getting rid of that, Scout? Let me know. It doesn't smell like fish, does it?
All right. Brian wants to know if I'll be using the POTA Performer this weekend. I don't know. I'm going to be doing a rove tomorrow, and I might be setting up. It might be fast setups and teardowns, so I might be using the magic carpet. We'll have to see what the what the band conditions look like. Definitely. So. Okay. Man, we're really. This show's been going way too fast. Been talking about.
Well, it's because I haven't been here for a couple months. It's literally. I think the last time you and I have been on the air together was June.
Back in June, because
field day. Yeah.
We were in hiatus and.
Yeah, so. July. Well, the July show landed on July 4th, so we said no to that. And then August, I was in Michigan for a conference. And I'm happy tonight because another thing besides being a ham and working is I also teach for our apprenticeship program through our local. And usually my night school that I teach is on Tuesday nights. Well, they flipped it on me, and it's on Thursday nights this year. And as soon as I said that, I said, "Oh crap." And I started looking through the dates, and I think there's 1 month that I might have a conflict.
Okay.
But other than that, I think we're okay. So I'll be here for a while yet.
We might be seeing more
anywhere.
We might be seeing more Dave. So.
Oh well, everyone does love the Dave. In fact, my wife said, "Where's that Dave White guy?" And I said, "When did you start watching my show?" So I'm beginning to wonder about you, Dave White.
Ah, mosquitoes are coming out here. So,
Well,
all right.
it's good to be that time, and they're getting cold. They want to cuddle.
They are getting cold. You know, I was looking here in the chat, and Mark asked this great question, and it is, what do you think of the Yaesu FTX-1F? And
I don't have a dog in this fight. I haven't had a chance to look at this, but Michael has looked at every 5 pictures that have been released of it because there is nothing else out there about it. So,
I
Michael,
studied.
Why don't you tell me?
I studied it intently to try to figure this thing out. Yeah. So I'm going to pull it up here because this is the new Wonder Rig from Yaesu, and that is the they announced it about almost 2 weeks ago, I guess. The Yaesu FTX-1F HF50 144 430 megahertz all mode QRP portable transceiver. Reserve now at DX Engineering. So
yeah,
this thing
looks flashy.
It does. It's they made the big announcement at in Japan at their Tokyo Ham Fest. I forget what it's called, but it was the Tokyo Ham Fest, and there was a couple of pictures leaked. You know, it was sitting behind the glass case, and it definitely looks small. I'd say, you know, it's hard to kind of judge the size of the things, but probably very similar in size to what you'd see the ICOM IC705. And it's definitely, if you read the specs, it's definitely something that's head to head with the IC705. So you know what what Yaesu has kind of got targeted in their sights.
Now, is that as deep as the 817, 818? Or is that a real short one like the 705?
It's really short. It's not very deep at all. I found online a couple of pictures that showed the backside, and it's, you know, it's all like faceplate, and then maybe about 2 inches back. You know,
so kind of like a chunky head unit if you have like a FTM 400.
I absolutely would call it a chunky head unit.
Or like the FTM 300, a little bit smaller, not quite as tall.
It's got a 4.3 inch diagonal screen, which is, I think, is the same size as the FTM 500. Don't quote me on that.
Probably the same screen.
It's probably the same. LED TFT style screen. You know, it's got that big spinner wheel and all that other garbage, which to me never made sense on the VHF UHF units, but looks perfect on this thing right here. Now it's since it's all band all mode, it can do simultaneous receive on HF and VHF, HF and UHF, VHF, VHF, UHF, UHF, VHF, blah, 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 blah. It's got built-in C4 FM fusion control in it. It's, of course, all SDR. The 3-dimensional spectrum screen, you see that on the display there. It's got 2 speakers, so it's got that, if you look at the bottom, it's got that, you know, like the other rigs do. The VHF, UHF ones do, you know, it's got that front-facing speaker that's kind of shoots the sound at you. So,
kind of like the Bose.
yeah, it's like a wave radio.
It's got the baffles and everything, right? Because that 2.3 kc of audio, that really needs all the help it can get.
They say effective QRM rejection. You know, it's got all that. It's got all the Yaesu gizmos on it, and everything beyond that is speculation. Now, the things that really concern me on this rig, and I'll just well, we can leave the picture up for a second. The things that really concern me on this rig is it comes with a 5670 milliamp hour battery. Now, 5,670 milliamp hour battery, which, if you think about it, that is quite a large battery for, a capacity for something like that. And that tells me right away that this thing is going to be a power hog. And of course, if you see that, if you look at that screen there, that screen is going to take a lot of energy, full color 4.3-inch TFT screen. So,
and all the processing
of the processing
power.
For all of that DSP control and the whole 9 yards.
Yep. If it's got 24-bit analog or analog digital, yeah, it's going to be. It's going to take some wattage. It will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'd be a little concerned about that. Now, so big battery means big power consumption, means big heat, and and Yaesu's acknowledging that, because right away in their announcement they said that if you want to run FT8 with this radio, you're going to need their optional external cooling fan that clips onto the back of the unit.
Well, you got to make a couple extra bucks there, Yaesu.
Yeah. So, right away when they say, external cooling fan, yeah, now now we know that this thing is going to be a heat producer.
Yeah. And Dave White says it right. I can't wait to see how deep the menus are on that one. That's absolutely right.
But it's all touchscreen.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. The one thing that I think will be good about this is the guys who run transverters, especially our microwave friends. I think they're going to find that, because I think the 705 in its form factor isn't great for the guys who run microwave. I've seen some guys that run it. They've come up with some pretty unique solutions. I think this might be a game changer for them, but that's a small market, especially now that ICOM is trying to come out with like a 5 gig, 10 gig microwave setup.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. The QRP guys, now this is going to have great receive. I mean, don't get me wrong. The FTX-101, the FT710, anything that Yaesu's come out with recently has had some of the best receive of any radio ever commercially built for the average view. They're way up there. Way up there, right up with Elecraft and some other stuff. Flex Radio is having a hard time competing with the ears on these things.
Oh yeah, it's
great, but what's that do for QRP? Not much, because QRP ain't about receiving; it's about transmitting. So hopefully they put a little bit of time and effort, processor-wise, into audio processing, and of course all these QRP antennas, everything. But again, that's going to be a battery hog. Now, let's remember the 817, the original 817. Jog your memory. What was the problem with the original 817?
Oh, well, other than batteries, battery drain.
Battery drain, because remember, anything with any switch that is a transistor will always have some sort of parasitic drain. Okay, and that was a problem, is that there was parasitic drain on the power switch because it was a transistor. It wasn't an actual snap switch.
No, it's a soft touch switch. Yeah.
Yep. And if you left the battery in the 817, what would happen was it would actually get to the point where the battery was so low, you would still have that drain, and you'd blow the finals on the radio.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Without even it was just sitting in a bag, you'd toast the radio. So with that, I hope that they learned their lesson. But again, with it, I'm not a big fan of the radio. The 897 had that too. they had the battery packs that you can put in there, and they weren't that great. So what makes me think that the extra money that you're paying for this battery is going to be that great, especially when you can get a LifePro 4 battery for stupid money nowadays, and you're going to run a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, we're spitballing here. We don't have our hands on this radio. We haven't seen specs or anything, but just what we've seen.
Everything is speculation. Yeah.
So again, let's see what happens and what I mean. Like I said, it's going to have great ears. If it's the same architecture as FTX-101 and the 710, it's going to have great ears regardless.
Yep.
And that is worth its weight in gold. But let's see some of the other nuances and see what they do with that, because this is a whole new bid. This is not F17 817 to an 818, because that was the same damn radio. I don't care what they said. It was a different version of the board. But this is all speculation.
This is a whole new paradigm. Yeah. You know, Todd says, I wonder why they limit power to 5 watts with the internal battery. If you want, this radio will do a full 10 watts if you connect external power. But you know, I think it's, I don't, you know, with the internal battery or the clip-on battery, I don't think it just has the capacity to do 10 watts because it's got all that other overhead on top of it.
Yeah, but, at 5 watts to 10 watts, there ain't much of a difference.
Not a whole lot.
I mean, 10 watts is still really QRP, especially if you're running sideband.
Yep, 10 watts QRP. You know, it's, I think it's, you know, really, I'm almost tempted to put some money down to get my name on the list. And
yeah, it's going to be, I mean, and the other thing too is that, so at the price of what this thing is going to go for a 10-watt radio, could you just spend that money and get a 991 or a 710?
Well, look at it this way. I mean, an IC 705 is what, $1,400?
Yeah. What's FT 710?
Yeah, a 710 is about $1,000.
Okay. And the FT 710's got a great receive on it. $1,100. Yeah. Yeah, $1,100. Right. So are you going to pay more for a radio that puts out less?
Yeah. I mean, if I was going to spend $1,400 on a 705, I might be just as tempted to spend $1,600 on an Elecraft.
Yeah. Right. And an Elecraft is a Cadillac.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, these are good radios, but you know, we're talking an Elecraft's like a Rolls Royce coming in.
Yeah.
You know, silver Phantom right here. Any day of the week.
Oh yeah, and they've got power figured out on that rig. You know.
Yeah.
The
Elecrafts, they don't screw around with power. They put the power where it needs to go. Don't get me wrong. The display. I mean, if you want a pan adapter for your Elecraft, you can get a pan adapter, right? Doesn't need to be 3D because 3D is fancy, right? But that doesn't help you make that many more contacts.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, maybe I'll put the money down. We'll see. I don't know. It's get on the list and then I can decide if it comes out.
You get 20 watts and you get a G90, and you still have heat problems.
I like my 817. I might just stay with that. So.
The 817, for all its quirks, is an absolutely phenomenal QRP radio.
Oh yeah,
they built the damn thing for 20 years in a couple different versions, and they are absolutely great. The original 817 had the problem with the batteries, but once you get past that, they make a aftermarket third-party DSP add-on for that.
Yep.
Which really helps. You can still get filters for it, mechanical Collins filters for it. It is an old-fashioned radio, good solid architecture. It's got the menu problem that we talked about with those Yaesus of that era. But for a QRP radio, the 817, the 817 ND, and the 818 were phenomenal.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of flash here, and again, I'm being a little cautiously. I don't know what to say. I'm going to be a little pessimistic about it, but let's just see what it looks like. That's all I gotta say.
There we go. Sounds good to me. So
45 auto, wait for a sale and get the G90. Well, I got the sale. So basically I paid $399 for the radio and I paid $50 for the stand and the fan. I paid $349, and then they gave me some online book too as well, which I'm not going to read because I can't read. But for $450 to get into portable HF, again, not a phenomenal rig.
no,
It's definitely got its issues, but it's a good radio. You don't even need to be a beginner. I mean, Dave, who's been a ham longer than you and I combined, uses it. And it gets him through, especially for CW or if you want to do FTA, use it.
There you go.
And if some of you saw my post on the Parks of the Year Facebook page, it may get a little dirty, right? Because every activation I did this week had required a dirt road. And I made a mistake. I put everything in the back of the truck. I had the tonneau cover closed and the tailgate closed, but that dust just seeped in. And I opened it up after the second activation. Dust all over. I'm trying to wipe stuff off. I'm like, oh no, brand new radio. And I said, heck, it's $450. It can't be that bad, right?
Just blow it out.
It worked. Just like a Nintendo cartridge. It worked.
Love my 857 100-watt output and still manages to sip power. Man, if the parts for that rig were not unobtainium, that would still be the category killer.
Yep, the 857 to 897 to this day, if you want a field radio that's not real great sensitivity, but they had really good selectivity.
Yeah.
Yep, and if you got the IF filters changed after they fail, because they will fail, they get that mold on them or whatever it is from the moisture.
Goop, yeah.
Yep, and we found that out the hard way, Michael. Remember that?
Yep. Oh yeah.
A real sad day. 857 to 897, dollar for dollar. If you can still pick one of those up for $500, good money spent. Because right now, a 20-year-old radio still sells for $700 to $800.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, that was good. We're getting towards the end of things here. It's been a crazy last hour and a half.
We're in overtime already.
We got one last question here we'll grab here that just kind of popped up, and then we'll have to sign off. Good day, gents. 2 questions. Recommendations for an HF, VHF, UHF rig with waterfall. Is it only the 991? And what do you use to confirm multi-park locations for POTA? So, okay.
First of all, don't ever call us gentlemen, because we're not.
I think the only thing with a waterfall that's all mode is probably the FT991. I mean, ICOM makes their ID, the 5100. I think it's 7100, excuse me, the 7100, but that doesn't have a waterfall of any regard. And all of the HF rigs,
the 705 does, but that's a QRP radio.
Yep, that's the 705, correct. That would be QRP. And then the new Yaesu, of course, would be QRP. So,
Dr. Jonathan, here's the deal. The 991, I think, retails for about $1,000.
Yep.
That's still triple het. For like 12 or 13, you can get the FT710. And the FT710 is just HF, isn't it?
That's just HF and 6. You don't get 2 meters and 70 centimeters.
So I guess maybe Dr. Jonathan, my question to you is, what do you need 2 meter 440 for? Okay.
There you go.
If you are going to use that as an all mode, you want to do sideband 2 meter 440 or CW 2 meter 440, which is a fine, rare wine. Your options are limited. If you just want to do 2 meter 440 FM simplex and repeaters, well, then just get a 2 meter 440 radio.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't need to have a waterfall for that.
I'm not a big fan of the Shack in a Box just because of that reason. That ultimately it limits you. A good HF rig and then a good and then just a dual band mobile
Yeah,
So,
there are some good shack in the boxes out there. I mean, in the past 20
yeah.
years, I mean, the TS2000 by Kenwood was like the shack in the box,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
TS2000, if you could find one of those someplace, man, those are
Mhm.
great radios. They're not made anymore, but they're great. But yeah, the 991A has got everything on it, and I had one. It's a good radio,
There's nothing
but
wrong with it. Yeah.
no, there's nothing wrong with it. A little heavy on the power consumption, but it's got the processing. But it's still a triple het receive.
Yep.
Now, I have FTDX3000 in the shack. That's a triple het receive with DSP, and I love that. You could pry that from my cold dead hands before I get an SDR. Because I remember the radios I had before that with the receive, and when I put this in on the same antenna, it was night and
Yep.
freaking day.
Yeah.
Okay. The 991A had a good receive, not a great receive. But that's because I think they made sacrifices to get 2 meter 440 in it.
Mm-hmm. I think so too, because otherwise, I think it's to try to fit it into sort of a category matrix. They had to, yeah, something had to give. So
45's got it right. It's a little long in the tooth. It came out too late. Came out just before Yaesu went full SDR.
Mhm.
Yeah, and now it's kind of the bastard shot. I mean, again, but if you're going to pay that much for a 991A, just go get a 710.
Yeah, there you go.
The shack, like you said, the shack in the box is kind of going away.
Yeah.
Especially because you can get 2 meter FM 440 FM dual band stuff for so stupid cheap now, and they're good.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good radio, but I don't know if I would spend money on it right now with all the other options.
Yeah. So yeah. Second half of the question, verifying multi. See if I can pull it up here. Yeah. Confirm multi-park locations for POTA. Your 2 for 3 for 4 for. This could get a little bit challenging to find how the state, if a trail runs through a state park or if there's a natural area inside of a wildlife area. And a lot of times it tends to pull in, you got to pull in resources from multiple sources. Like somebody sent me an email today. They were wondering, they were looking at a national trail, and they were wondering if this, how could you find if this trail runs through a local state park? And so this was, I didn't have a chance to get this queued up for the live stream, but I'm looking. So I pull up since it's a national trail, I pull up the National Park Service site and look at the official trail map. And then I try to figure out where the state park is, and the maps for the state park were kind of nebulous, but it looks like the two don't line up. And sometimes state park maps are good in that they do show the trails, and sometimes they don't. And it's going through. Yeah, it's going through official trail maps. It's going through state park maps. Yeah, as William says here, I do the same thing. Look at the POTA map, which is using the Open Map AI, which is reasonably good. Google Maps in satellite mode. I use that all the time to find trailheads and parking locations, and the state park maps. Absolutely. You got to pull all these pieces together, and you got to and sort of distill things down yourself a lot of times, because there's not one resource that might have it all.
So you and I were talking about this just the other day. So I did my activation on Monday at Dewey Marsh Wildlife Area. But there's Dewey Marsh
Natural area.
Natural area. Okay.
Yep.
So the really only place where they overlap is one small parking spot.
Yep.
Right. Now, I didn't go for the twofer on this because I said, no, this is a little confusing. But Michael has done the research on this. There's one parking spot. And now that I know it, I wish I could just put a little sign that says, if you're doing POTA, this is the twofer. Put that on the post out there, right? like a geocache or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to do a little research now. Like if you have a national trail that goes through a state park, it's like the Ice Age Trail, which was Michael and Maya's first activation national parks on the air 8 years ago. I was just thinking about that this weekend, how things have come along. And they have the blazes. And if you're at 100 feet of the blazes and you're in the park, well, then you're in your twofer.
Yep, absolutely. And I was at a couple of years ago. We were up in spending Christmas, pre-Christmas up in Superior, Wisconsin, and I stopped at Patterson State Park. And we're in the parking area, and I see on the trees blue blazes, and I say, "Holy smokes!"
North Country Trail.
North Country Trail.
Yep.
So, well, we park our car on that end of the parking lot. So,
yep. In fact, Tuesday I had to go up to Houghton, Michigan, and I passed the North Country Trail.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that was the second or third national park on the air that weekend that we did. Wasn't it?
Yep.
It was.
I think it was. I think it was.
Yeah, because we had to go up to Sloan Springs, and that's where we activated it. Oh my God!
We activated. Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about this. Is that how far we've come? You brought a IC 718.
That was a monster.
2000. We brought monster antennas and basically car batteries.
Yep. Killing ourselves.
I know. A trunk full of gear. How did we do this? Now we're so good at it. We just set up 5-minute setup, and we make 100 contacts an hour.
Bang, bang, boom. Yeah.
How stupid is this?
Jeff wants to know: is there a system in POTA for user contributed data?
No,
not really. I would if it has to do with a park, I would consult with your regional, your state mapping coordinator. Parks coordinate, and they can work with them if you've got something to contribute. I think that's the easiest. That's probably the best route to go in contributing data, is to talk to every state in the U.S. has got a mapping coordinator, so they can talk to them about that. So
yeah, if you can find a sweet spot for a 2-fur or a 3-fur or that rare 4-fur, because I've heard of one or two of those. Let them know, and if we keep pestering about this, maybe they can update the maps.
The pins, they can move the pins around in the good spots. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I mean, they put a pin down, but the park could be 10,000 square miles, right?
Yep.
Like Yellowstone or Yosemite or something.
Yeah,
but if we could put a pin where 3-furs and 4-furs are, that would be awesome.
Yep, exactly.
It really would.
So, it would. So, all right. Well, this is way past. We got to close things down here, and I think I gotta wind things down here in the park because it's getting close to 9 o'clock. So
it is.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for another totally amazing live stream. We've gone. The time goes so fast, and we've gone through so much stuff here.
Yeah, almost 2 hours tonight.
2-hour show. Yeah. So, next live stream Thursday, October 3rd. That's going to be right before our Parks on the Air campout, POTA campout. So, we'll give any final detail. We'll shed any final details, I guess, on that live stream. It's so look forward to that. Otherwise, if you've got questions, drop me a line. We'll get them on the list for next month. Hopefully, we can hit them up. But for now, that's it for another episode of Your Questions Answered. I'm Michael, KB9VBR.
And I'm Beetlejuice.
Whoa! There's Chris.
Oh, hey! She showed up.
Yeah.
It's showtime.
The showtime.
Or it's bedtime, what she's probably trying to tell you.
Yep, she's in the trailer getting ready to turn into a pumpkin. So,
or a sandworm, one or the other,
or whatever. Have a great night. 7-3.
7-3.